Welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us. Well, we've been giving you live coverage of the World Economic Forum that's underway in Davos in Switzerland, and Liabo Setho has been keeping us apace on the developments there. Let's go live to her now. Liabo, over to you.
Thanks, Colin. Good afternoon. Yes, indeed, we've been running around and trying to get as many voices as we possibly can here at the World Economic Forum, particularly looking at, what the forum itself, how it is handling the conference and what kind of reports are coming out of there, and also keeping an eye on our very own South Africa. And of course, we know of the developments that we also have seen at home with particularly SAA, and of course, that having a somewhat of an impact, or maybe even a big impact on how the Team South Africa will now sell South Africa to international investors when you now have flights grounded. But of course, it's also not new, because we know that there have been challenges when it comes to state-owned enterprises. But I'm sure this will have added pressure on Team South Africa as it goes about and meets with different stakeholders on and encouraging them really on coming to invest in South Africa. But I've invited the acting CEO at Brand South Africa, Ms. Thulisile Manzini, to join me so that we can chat about a couple of things of where exactly the headspace is of Team South Africa, as today is the official day of World Economic Forum here at Davos. And of course, some of the ministers, I believe, are only coming to the conference a little bit later, so they're coming in drips and drabs, really, Team South Africa. So I'll turn now to Ms. Manzini so that we can have a chat about what's on the plate for Team South Africa. Ms. Thulisile Manzini, thank you so much for making time to speak to us at the SABC. It starts on a very, very peculiar note, especially with developments back home with SAA. It must be now going to be quite a difficult sell to sell South Africa to the world.
Thank you very much. Yes, there are developments regarding SAA currently, but we all know, when you don't want to shy away, that for some time SAA had problems. But what is happening today with the grounding of planes, we all remember that SAA was put under business rescue. And because of that, they had to look at ways and means of making sure that SAA does recover. And having said that, I don't see it putting us in a negative light, because if you look at the SAA statement, it shows that having done that, grounding the planes, they have approached their sister airline, which is Mango, to be able to assist them in making sure that all the people that are there, tourists, domestically, internationally, they are able to take their respective flights accordingly.
One could say, if it doesn't rain, it pours, or I think that's how the saying goes. If it rains, if it doesn't rain, it pours. I think it goes and says. I mean, we also have other challenges when it comes to slow reforms. The IMF flagging that yesterday. We have other challenges with regard to electricity supply. What is the messaging from Brand SA to the rest of the world about what South Africa is doing with regards to this?
I will start by saying South African people, we tend to be hard on ourselves. Problems that are faced by South Africa are not unique to the world. Every country, they have their own problems, but we tend to look more on the negative than the positive. The issue of electricity, yes, it is there, but that particular matter is being taken care of. That particular matter is being looked at. The ministers who are concerned, ministers who are dealing with this particular matter, they are coming up with plans on how to deal with this particular matter. It's not like there is nothing that is happening. So as I'm here selling the message, and everybody else that is asking me, I am saying to them, they must watch the space and see what are the resolutions regarding this matter, especially as far as electricity is concerned. But I can say that to every investor that wanting to invest in South Africa, it's not like they walk in there today and find South Africa dark. It is not. There are processes that are put in place to make sure that we curb that particular situation.
You'd agree with me, though, that the issue of the low growth environment, economic growth, IMF once again projecting downwards our growth for 2020 is somewhat of a concern. How concerned are you as Brand South Africa when they ask you once again on the corridors of Davos?
We are concerned, like everybody else will be concerned, but there is something that is being done. There are committees that are put in place at a high level. We are represented at high level. Even here in Davos, coming here, we have the Minister of Finance, because he is tasked to look in those issues of the economy. We have got Minister Patel, who's here, and also Minister Naledi Pandor. So you see by the high-level delegation that is coming here to assist Brand South Africa in selling South Africa and to telling and positioning this particular brand to say, please come to South Africa, invest in South Africa, to make sure that all those issues, the IMF, that they are raising, these are the issues that we'll be able to take care of.
Let's talk about other programs that Brand SA may be or is involved with outside the World Economic Forum. What else is this agency doing besides being here at Davos and selling South Africa? How else are you selling the country to the rest of maybe the continent and other parts of the world when we are not at Davos?
We sell South Africa firstly to South Africans. Like I've said, there are people who don't believe in South Africa, and we know that. We start at home. Charity begins at home. We sell South Africa to South Africans, and then we sell South Africa to the world to position this particular brand. And what is it that we do? We've got different programs. We are involved in schools. We have programs, Play Your Part programs, where we ask all South Africans, it's a call to play your part in different sectors of where South Africans are. And because we have this particular voice that is there and it is heard all over, we are asked by different countries to come and assist them when they brand their specific countries. So we have just been to Eswatini to assist them with their strategy. So we are asked to come and assist them because they see our brand that is growing. We are about to take the AU chairmanship, and that is the way of assisting us as a brand. And we are going to see, watch the space, because we're going to have full-blown programs to make sure that we sell the country and to make sure that we influence the African agenda.
Now, I want to talk about the specific, once again, coming back here in Davos, the specific messaging and maybe the timelines of what exactly you, yourself, and Team South Africa, who you'll be meeting, what you'll be saying, what time you'll be meeting those people.
We have a hub, and in our hub, we have said we are inviting everybody that is here that needs to meet South Africa and talk about investment opportunities. We have got people who are good in those specific subjects to come and talk to investors about specific subjects of what needs to happen in South Africa and where are the opportunities. And we are also telling them about the ease of doing business in South Africa, cutting the red tape, because a lot of people were saying it's very difficult to do business in South Africa.
In fact, the World Economic Forum, it has a study itself, and we've seen that Mauritius, for instance, has consistently come up with the ease of doing business, so yet South Africa has been lagging behind, except, of course, when you look at the sophistication of the banking system, that you find that we're doing particularly well on that. So I would love you to expand on that.
I will tell you, when I talk about the ease of doing business in South Africa, one of the issues that we have been criticized on and that we have worked on is the issue of the visas. Yeah. Because people will say, coming to South Africa to do business, it was a tedious process to make sure how you apply and get those. So those are some of the issues that we are looking at and making sure that as a country, we're making it easy. But of course, not relaxing to such an extent that even unwanted tendencies come to the country. But we want to make sure that those that qualify meet our specific requirements, because we are a country, we have specific requirements that you must meet for you to be able to come to the country and do business with us. So those are some of the things that we are selling as South Africa, to say we are here, talk to us. We've got a booklet, and that booklet, I will not go through it, it summarizes the main reasons why you must do business in South Africa.
As we wrap up, Ms. Manzini, I love the term that you use, that we've got shady people maybe that may be coming in. That is why visa regulations were probably necessary in the first instance. But there is an issue of crime in South Africa, and that is very concerning to the international community. I mean, the level of violent crime in South Africa is a concern. How do you even begin to tell people to still come to the country while we experience in such high levels of crime against women and children, and just crime in general and its very nature of its violence?
We deal decisively with crime in South Africa. You will see, I will go back and take you back to the World Cup. A lot of people we're not confident that we'll be able to handle that, and we handle that with such ease. Once we know whether there are syndicates and whatever that is happening, we are able as a country to rise above that. We deal decisively. We make sure that we have put in place measures to make sure that even things before they start, we are able to know where are those things, where they happen. We have a security cluster, and that security cluster, they discuss all those issues, because it will be your of that. It will be your defense force. So we make sure that we cover all those areas and all the angles of where this type of things have a possibility of happening. So I can safely say, sitting here in Davos, that come to South Africa, it is a very safe country, because once there is something that we see it's unbecoming, we act decisively.
Ms. Manzini, thank you so much for making time to speak to us at the SABC. We really do appreciate it. Thank you. Colin, that is the acting CEO at Brand South Africa, Ms. Thulisile Manzini, and she is advocating for investors to come to South Africa because there's a lot to offer in South Africa. She says, of course, we touched on a whole lot of things, including the recent issue of the South African Airways, obviously grounding a couple of flights, and we spoke obviously about also what they will be telling all the meetings that they'll be having today and tomorrow, as the World Economic Forum, of course, continues here in Davos. And with that, let me hand back to you in studio.